wanted you to take a look at a picture here and tell me what you see. Tell me if you think that these are positive pictures. I would say a majority of people would say yes. It's a family eating together, they're eating dinner. But, you know, eating dinner is great, but what exactly are they eating? This is Roundup. The prime chemical in Roundup, the herbicide, is called glyphosate, and that is a pretty serious chemical. I'm going to talk to you about that today. We're going to be talking about the chemical itself, the history of it, the effects that it could have on people, and why it has those effects. This is an actual picture of a plane flying over a farm and spraying all the crops that you'll be eating on into your body. They're spraying those crops with Roundup, which is a herbicide. All right, glyphosate. Glyphosate. It's a really hard word for me to say, so I don't know why I picked that topic, but I'm working on it. Okay. Okay, what is this chemical? So, glyphosate is in Roundup, which is a weed killer. It's, according to the Oxford Dictionary, it's a synthetic compound that is a non-selective systematic herbicide particularly effective against perennial weeds. So people use this in their gardens, at their homes, and don't really think twice about it. But what if it's used on a mass scale? Well, I love that picture. It's a broad spectrum herbicide. So that means that this herbicide is used in mass quantities. I mean, it's the most widely used herbicide on a global scale, and there's tons of other herbicides. So I mean, it's a pretty big one. So what the Roundup does, it has genetically engineered crops. So these crops are created to withstand the overuse of glyphosate, because the crop will die. So you're eating crops that are engineered to take in poison. Now the poison is held to the crop. So what do you think will happen to you eventually? Now the crops that this applies to there's a lot of others, but the main ones are soybeans, which is a huge one. I mean, there's soy in almost everything we eat. If you look at the back of something, it contains soy, whether it's like a type of oil or if it's the bean itself, or just it's usually used in products to hold them together as like a kind of a binder. Corn is one of the biggest ones. I mean, you don't really get a lot of corn unless you're eating, but think about it, popcorn, you know, corn like in a bag that you can eat, corn on the cob. There's tons of varieties of corn. Canola oil, that's used in a ton of things as an oil, fried foods. Cotton, sugar beets, alfalfa, sugar cane. A huge one is wheat. So we'll get more into that in a couple minutes. Should have clicked it. There it goes. Alright, and how does this chemical work? Well, it's absorbed through the plant's foliage and then transported throughout the stems and the leaves of the plant. So it's sprayed into the plant absorbs it, goes down to the root of the plant. Now the whole plant is affected with this. Prevents the plants from making amino acids they need to survive. So you think that the plants, when they're sprayed, they would die. Well, they're not, because they're genetically modified organisms, so they're genetically engineered. The main growth promoter, tryptophan, is inhibited in the plant. So this will affect the weeds, but it's not going to affect the plant, because like I said, the plant is genetically modified. The weeds, however, are not, and they're going to die. There's cases of Roundup Ready weeds now, so guess what? Your crops are being sprayed with more pesticides than they were before, because the weeds are now able to withstand the chemicals, so now they're having to spray more of it. Like I said, genetically engineered plants are engineered to withstand this process. So they're like freaking plants. It allows the glyphosate to remain in the food, therefore you are consuming it. Little brief history on this. This man is an evil man. This is an herbicide specialist. He discovered it. His name is Johnny Bran, and he started with Monsanto. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Monsanto, but a lot of what they're doing is deemed to be good, but I'll let you figure that out. I'll help you to try to figure that out because it's not. He discovered this herbicide and then he introduced it into Roundup, which is the weed killer, in 1974. Now, he got tons of awards for his achievements in safely, you know, taking care of these plants and starting to grow plants, and kind of like he's able to cultivate these plants and feed them to nations on mass scale. So he's doing a good thing is what they originally thought. Monsanto, I'll give you a little bit background about Monsanto. They began as a chemical company in 1901, all right? Now they're deemed to be like a food company, and companies that are in Kraft and Kellogg's and all of these huge brand foods that you eat, they're buying it out. The majority of the company's history is involved in heavy industrial chemical production, okay? A really great example of that is they were the supply of Agent Orange to U.S. Vietnam War. So, I mean, they're taking care of our food. Now, Agent Orange is huge. I mean, there's people born still today in Vietnam with birth defects, and I mean, that was a chemical made to kill, but it looks like they're pretty good at that. Now they're responsible for the top-selling herbicide, which is Roundup. 40 pounds of crops contain Monsanto's genes. I would say 40 pounds. I messed up on that. So 40% of crops contain Monsanto's genes. So 40% of the world's crops, and now that's a pretty substantial amount if you think about all of the crops owned by like individual farmers or private farmers and now factory farms. They spend millions lobbying to the government each year. So they, like Obama just signed something saying that it's okay, that there's nothing that we can do to argue this, that it's deemed healthy. So they lobby to the government, they do advertisements, and it's deemed as a really friendly, they aim at children, deemed as a really friendly food product. 60 countries have put a complete ban on Monsanto, so it's kind of strange that 60 countries have put a ban on them, and yet we have not done that yet. It is illegal in Australia, Iceland, England, China to sell anything in a Monsanto related product. That is the effects of Agent Orange. Now, health conditions associated with this. Cancer, autism is a huge one. Depression, gastrointestinal diseases, which celiac and leaky gut, gluten intolerance, which is a huge thing now. Everyone's on this gluten-free diet. Well, it might not be gluten that's the problem. It might be what's sprayed with the gluten that's the problem. Alzheimer's, allergies, there's much more evidence that suggests that this is an extremely dangerous chemical, especially to a mother. All right, so I'm going to go over cancer. The carcinogenic effects have been known since the 80s about cancer, about the effects that this has. They did studies on farmers that worked with this product and what went on with them with their lives afterwards. Their studies show that glyphosate to be an endocrine disruptor. So your endocrine system is a huge part of your body in balancing your hormones and your cells and your health. So when that's disrupted, your body is disrupted. The disruptors, the endocrine disruptors, they increase cancer cells. Once your endocrine system is disrupted, the cancer cells are really able to grow in mass quantities. We all have cancer cells in our bodies. Those are just cells that are unhealthy, they're dying. Everything you do on a day-to-day basis increases those cancer cells, and this is a huge, your diet, huge. So they did a study that it shows it increases the number of breast cancer cells just through cell division. And the breast cancer cells just divide at a mass quantity when you're ingesting this chemical. Bt toxins found in Monsanto's genetically engineered crops. Bt toxins, it's a bacteria. When you take the B and the T apart, they're like really long names, so I'm not going to say them, but the B, that's like associated with the creation of anthrax. And the T, when you put those two together, it's a toxin, it's a bacterial, like virus toxin, that are injected into the plant. So when the bug eats the plant, the bug dies. So you're eating the plant that is engineered to kill other creatures. Yes, granted they're bugs, but think about it when you ingest more and more of it. Those toxins will damage red blood cells in your body, just like they would damage the bug, kill the bug. Red blood cells are super, super important. Oh, sorry. Blood cells are super. Oh, okay. They carry oxygen to your body. They throw off normal functioning of white blood cells, and scientific studies have shown exposure that farmers, their risk doubles. I'm going to stop or should I keep going? Okay, so this is glyphosate and autism. So this is just a little chart to show you where this lies. So this is the use of glyphosate, and this is the risk or the cases of autism, how they rose drastically. So there's been arguments against this that say that, well, a lot of that is, misproper diagnosis. Now we're aware of what autism is, the age of the children, and just children that would have been diagnosed elsewhere. But then there's 46% of that is unknown. I'm going to go ahead and take a bet that some of that has to do with our diet and our intake. High levels of glyphosate is found in breast milk, which it's found more in breast milk than in urine. So breast milk is the only thing babies eat. So if the mother has a poor diet and they're eating this food, you're going to get a lot of levels of that in the breast milk. The MIT doctor Stephanie Seneff claims autism will afflict 50% of children by 2025. Okay, so if you have a child, you have 2 children, one of those could possibly have autism. That's a really scary thing. This is just by trends that she's been doing and studies that she's been doing over the past decade. Now, autism causes zinc and iron deficiency, serotonin, melatonin deficiencies, seizures, higher aluminum levels. All of those are also associated with glyphosate. Now there's big talk in the news about vaccines. People think you're crazy if you don't vaccinate your children. Well, no, that's up to you. The aluminum is present in vaccines and increases your symptoms. The glyphosate cages aluminum to promote entry, and it induces pathogens in the gut. Pathogens cause aluminum uptake by cells. So the aluminum and the glyphosate work together and create a higher chance of autism just by taking care of pathogens and letting them release into the body and the bloodstream. I have so much more. Should I just be done? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so gluten intolerance. Okay, so celiac disease, another big thing. Okay, so I'll just kind of scan over this. Your gut makes about 70% of your immune system, which people are really unaware of. 70%. There's 10 bacteria to every 1 cell in your body. So that's billions and trillions of cells. They respond to the presence of glyphosate. So there is a pathway in your body called the Shikimate pathway, and you don't have that, but the bacteria do have that, and the plants have that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the conclusion because I talked a lot. Okay, it causes depression too. Anyway, herbicide is used in Roundup, and Roundup is sprayed on crops that we consume. These crops are GMOs or GE crops, which are genetically engineered, and there's numerous health concerns. So next time you pick up a sandwich, just think about it. Oh no.